Talk to us a little bit about what's already happened, Vinod, with respect to your vision for the app. And then, our favorite topic, account aggregator. How do you see that now sort of blending itself into the vision for the next?
While people call it the super app, for us, the vision was for it was to become an AI-powered financial companion. In the last 10 years, I think Account Aggregator was the most important thing that changed things for us, because we work in a segment where people are still on cash.
Give us a flavor of the personas, the products that the company is building.
So traditionally, assessing a customer would always be through a very regular lens of a standard credit model. If you pass through it, you are a customer. If you don't pass through it, then you're not a customer. Because we had a very physical presence, we could have a very physical understanding of how things work. One, I told you, phygital is the only way we see it happening.
Yeah.
Number two, we also, through digitization, ensured that our core IT systems are more fluidic and configurable.
Is there a secret sauce sort of element there in how do you get the field force to adopt something digital?
So there was this movie called Kung Fu Panda. I'll quote a dialogue from it. It says there are no secret sauces. So there are no secrets at all there. So it's a grind.
Hi. Good afternoon, evening, morning, depending on where you're watching this from. We're pleased to bring you another episode of Manthan, the podcast series launched by Sahamati and supported by Finvu, one of India's leading account aggregators. If you watched the previous episodes of Manthan, you'd probably understand what we're trying to do here. The account aggregator ecosystem has reached a very respectable scale, but like all things digital in India, we're still scratching the surface. And the attempt with Manthan is to really bring stories from people who are at the cusp of India's financial digital transformation and try and make sense out of where all of this is going to go. And in the previous episode, we had a conversation with Fakhri Surgeon of Bajaj, and Bajaj has really led the adoption of account aggregator in many ways. It was a fascinating conversation to find out how account aggregator is being used very strategically. This time, however, we are very happy to sort of bring in a narrative which in many ways I think is going to shape the future of account aggregator. I'm very pleased to have with me Vinod Kumar from Shriram. Shriram obviously needs no introduction, but we'd love to hear Vinod's take on his personal journey with the group. As the Chief Digital Officer, Vinod is at the forefront of transforming many things at Shriram. But let's hear from the man himself.
Vinod, thank you, Vamsi.
It's lovely to have you with us. Thanks for making the time. I always like to start by first understanding people and their journeys, professional sides of their journeys. So why don't you give us a quick sort of overview of what you've done, where you've been?
So I've been mostly in the banking, NBFC side of things, while I've also worked on the tech side with a couple of startups, but mostly, if you look at it, 75% of the time would have been between the banking and the NBFCs. Companies like Citi, HDFC, Bajaj, mostly on the finance side, and it was always been between sales, product, and digital transformation. Moving into Shriram was a complete change in the way I had learned things in the last 20 years. Everything had to be unlearned and learned again, because this was a company which purely... See, what was exciting about it was how do you, make a bridge between the past and the future. This is a company which has a 50-year-old legacy. Legacy of true ethics and values, have built it from grounds up serving the tier 2 and tier 3 kind of customers. So there lies the opportunity, right? So how can you modernize operations? How can you create new workflows for these kind of customers? How can I stitch legacy to future tech? How can I become competitive in this digital world, right? So we also understand what brought us here may not take us forward, right? So that requires a certain amount of digitization, but digitization is a very fancy word. I think we spoke about it earlier also. Digitization was not about creating single click approvals or doing magic on the field. It was about empowering people. So Shriram has been successful because of its presence in front of the customer, never behind a screen. So we've established 3,300 branches across the country, and only in the hinterlands of the country, if you can call it so, because if you divide the country into 5 Bharats, we are probably serving the 5th Bharat, the lowest, longest, segment of the triangle. So serving them cannot happen sitting out of tier 1 locations, cannot happen with fancy equipments or gadgets. It has to be on the ground, understanding the customer, being there. See, if you ask me, the challenge of working in this segment is about creating trust and avoiding frauds, because there is no digital divide, if you ask me, anymore. I mean, it was there earlier. There was always a digital divide, or there was a rural infrastructure was not up to what we would expect it to be. But I think post-COVID, most of it has got solved. And India Stack has probably helped getting it there also. All kudos to that. But beyond that, how do you make a person to trust an institution? With a lot of things going around, right? With the digitization, so has been the rise in frauds also. So you need to get an establishment done, and that can only happen face to face. So what the company has actually done well is being out there, understanding the core issues, creating the right products for the right set of customers, and being there when he needed it. And that was the success story, the success mantra of the company. What we set out to do is to probably not call it digitization, solve 4 or 5 problems, right? Can I optimize processes, make it more efficient? Can I create more better customer centric journeys? Can I create new revenue streams? Can I mitigate risk better? These are probably my 4. If you ask me, I'll write down as challenge points, and then I'll start working on my digitization journey. Otherwise, everything else is only, is just you're making making things to just make it look aesthetics and all. That is different. But these 4 core things, if you solve, everything else will automatically fall into place.
But without this, we were chatting about this before the lights went on. I mean, you started your career with Citi, then you went to HDFC, you've been with Bajaj. But where you are now, and this is what I think is fascinating for many of us who've been in the digital public infrastructure space, is you're dealing with problems of personas that I think have always been the core intended beneficiaries, whether it's account aggregator or any other element of India's stack. Give us a flavor of the personas, the products that the company is building, the operating procedures in terms of what digital really means. Because like we were saying, for many of us, digital almost is a metaphor for perhaps reducing people. But that's not the case when, you drive your charter. So say a little bit more about personas, problems, products and your charter.
So if you look at it, we have always been in the underserved segment. I keep saying it quite often, but that is what we are, right? We've always been very proud to be associated with a customer, otherwise an RE, a regulated entity, would not even touch with a barge pole. They were like apprehensive of lending that person because they could not derive personas of that customer because they never had a formal credit history. So traditionally, assessing a customer would always be through a very regular lens of a standard credit model. If you pass through it, you are a customer. If you don't pass through it, then you're not a customer. Then you become eligible for it by taking some credit here and there and onboard yourself onto the credit structure. Otherwise, you never become your customer. But we operated very differently. So this was because we could leverage the strength of the branches and the amount of people who were there on the field. Because we had a very physical presence, we could have a very physical understanding of how things worked. For example, you spoke about personas. So there is a cleaner of a truck.
Okay.
He's employed there. Our first objective is to find out if this cleaner can become a truck owner. So then I'm drawing a path for him. It's not a short-term path at all. He has to become a truck owner at some point in time. When can he become? There will be a path to it. What can I lend him? How can I make him a truck owner? Then he becomes a truck owner. Then a truck owner has to become a fleet owner. That's how the path goes. Then his family takes multiple products. Then there's a two-wheeler which we can fund. There's a gold loan which you can fund. Then there are auxiliary functions are associated with the trucking community, right? There could be a fuel financing. There could be, a service financing. There could be tire financing. Everything. So you take care of the entire ecosystem in and around. So one, you're laying a growth path of how a cleaner can become a fleet owner and also taking care of all the associated auxiliary things going around the trucking community. That way you're establishing yourself as an integral, critical part of his journey, his growth journey of that person. Similarly, take an MSME. Somebody who has a small shop. The immediate long-term view of it is how this can become a small mart. A small supermarket, if you can call it. So what all can be done? So I told you, there could be invoice discounting, there could be inventory funding, there could be upfront funding of a small ticket loan. There are multiple ways. But yes, being physical, because these people did not have there was no tool where I can do cash flow understanding. There was no models built. There was no past, data set available where I could create personas on them. Then it became very physical, right? I have to do a very physical verification of it, have guarantors around it, take multiple additional documents required so that I can do. See, we are not in the business of lending. We're actually in the business of risk.
Yeah.
So you have to understand how much of risk, how much can I expose myself to the customer, right? So then I expose it accordingly. But with these tools, things change for me. I assess the customer better. I understand the customer better. I can curate products better. I can quantify the loans better. I can do better pricing for the customers because I have exact methods and methodologies to assess them better. So things changes the way I function now. Now I can create better cohorts of these customers. I can do more tailor-made products for them, right? If it's an agricultural, if he's a farmer, what kind of agricultural loans can I do? Because they will never fall into the regular credit framework.
Right.
I have to assess them very differently. But if you ask for cash transactions, they would have multiple through the bank. But never through a regular. They could have never taken from a formalized credit, would never be a part of their list of credits they have taken. So then I have to assess them very differently. So that was possible because of that field stuff that I had. The entire FOS being there, being available, has changed the way we function. In fact, that is the reason we have established ourselves so strongly into this deep and wider network of, villages and tier 2, 3 and 4 and 5 and upwards. So that is a game changer for us.
So digital is all about augmenting or enhancing what the core strength of the business is, which is, get a very physical sense, get trust embedded in physical conversations, but use data, use workflows to speed in the process and make.
So if you put it that way, see, one, I told you phygital is the only way we see it happening.
Yeah.
Number two, we also, through digitization, ensured that our core IT systems are more fluidic and configurable. A layered, cloud-ready platform Can I have very configurable API stack ready so that I can work myself better with partners? Instead of a very rigid system, I can create more fluidic configurable system so that I can latch onto APIs quickly. Can I go to market quickly? So we invested a lot on developing the core IT stack. Thirdly, we ensured that empowering my employee was the most crucial. So what I give him as a platform has to be super employee friendly. It should be backed with lot of data and analytics so that he can do real-time assessments, he can do real-time sanctions, how he can reduce paper, improve efficiency, how he can improve his own productivity, and how he can upskill himself into doing some things better was my second task. And third was, I think I already spoke about it, was to create more customer-centric products. So with the data analytics that I have, can I curate better products? And can I reach out to the customer at a time when he's actually in need rather than bombarding things onto customer, which is quite the norm around? Can I build propensity models to identify when the customer would be in need of a certain product and push the right campaigns to the customer so that he comes on board? And how can I build more mobile first onboarding journeys for the customer to onboard themselves with a consented quick bureau? Can I throw an immediate offer, then push it to a CRM where the agent can reach out to the customer? Can he quickly do a eKYC with the minimum set of information required? Can tools like Account Aggregator can additionally help me with more information on income? Can I do e-sign? Can I do e-agreement quickly? Can I do e-nudge quickly? Can I push it to an ops in a matter of 5 or 10 minutes? If this I can do, then I have solved it for my employee. Then I have also solved it for the customer, both. So digitization is not about just doing it for the sake of doing. As I said, I am just trying to solve those small problems which are already existing. But these small tweaks are only going to make my employee faster and better and more efficient and curate better offers for my customers. So if you look at it from a sourcing point of view also, my sourcing is clean through, let's say, propensity models. He comes in. I told you about KYC and all. Real time, can I also build a risk segmentation of a customer through my back tested data that I already have? Can I put a customer into a certain bucket? Basis that bucketing, can I input a dynamic pricing on the customer? So that basis the risk that I'm taking, can I give him a different pricing? Can I also decide the quantum of loan to him? This also becomes another model, right? Then obviously other tools are like ammunitions for me. All my eKYC and e-sign will take me through. Right? So that is digitization for me. How can I make it more friendly, user-friendly for the employee and more accessible for the customer?
And clearly, whatever you're talking about has been working, because we were speaking about the downloads that the Super app has had in the last 2.5 years. So talk to us a little bit about what's already happened, Vinod, with respect to your vision for the app. And then, our favorite topic, Account Aggregator. How do you see that now sort of blending itself into the vision for the next version of your strategy?
So Super app was when we were on the drawing board, the whiteboard when we started, we were very clear. While people call it the Super app, for us, the vision was for it was to become an AI-powered financial companion, right? So initially, we thought just having just the products lined up on the app is not like, people are not going to turn up here every day to take a personal loan or a insurance for it. It's not like an everyday product. So there has to be engagement tools. So we built the entire payment stack there. So you have the entire UPI, BBPS, everything already onboarded. And these transactions also feed into the ecosystem through engines where I can build products for the customers, identify cohorts for these customers, because otherwise I would never be able to create, curated products for the customers. So these becomes the backend for me to get I can understand app downloads, I can understand uninstalls, I can create more cohorts, I can understand what is happening, to what quantum it is happening. So that gives me a lot of freedom to understand customers better. And we've already crossed, as I said, 2 crore without breaking a sweat. That was because we were right there, accessible to these customers. We had very localized products. We had vernacular access to these customers so that it is very easy for them to understand. We had the right push done at the right time about the right product to that customer. So this became a big, sourcing tool for us. And also, one, it became a sourcing tool, and also it became the backbone to create more products for the future. So that became a change for me. So now it is very beautifully stitched how a customer comes in, through discovery, finds a product, tests himself on how much he would require. He could create a smart sanction for himself, and then beautifully, send it to a CRM where somebody contacts him, and it happens very fluidically. And the customer just passes through one part to the other, and it goes through the entire process flow. So now it is a very stitched journey. So so that is what we intend to get to, and that has become now a very nice tool. And again, the entire service part of it, right? Where we are talking about only the journey up till the disbursement. Even the post disbursement, we built multiple models to take care of early warning signs. We also build a lot of models to understand how can I create models to do service of the customers, right? We had a lot of chatbots to be done where we can send out information, we can, tackle information. How can we respond to the customer faster? How can I do sentiment analysis on the customers? Multiple things there also. Okay. So this becomes my front-end tool to a lot of things that I can do on the back end.
So how does Account Aggregator now sort of propel this to its next version?
Account Aggregator changes. I don't know. In the last 10 years, I think Account Aggregator was the most important thing that changed things for us, because we work in a segment where people are still on cash. People have not grown beyond, while cash or digital, but they're not enough. They are credit invisible. They are not in the credit framework as of now. And we have been working with them. And I said we were always, we could not lend the way we expected to lend. It took a while for us to train a customer, that is curate a customer over a course of some time for him to become eligible for a certain quantum. That is very straightforward also, right? Because he's a very untested customer, and I could not do beyond the physical verification or any other supporting document. Account Aggregator changes everything. Account Aggregator gives me the power of going through a concentrated journey, get a real-time, holistic, consolidated financial statement view, financial asset view of the customer, and which is end-to-end encrypted in a fraction of a second. That gives me power, exposure to so much of information that I can do multiple things. I can do ABB, I can do BTO, I can derive income, I can do credits, I can do debits, I can understand I can profile the customer better through it. And that changes the way I function, because look at MSME segment specifically, which I am very big on. My market becomes twice the size of it with the Account Aggregator coming into play, right? So that changes the way I function, because I can reach these customers faster, I can assess these customers faster, and I can fund them with much more clarity. And I also get a view on his future, on how is he going to repay me. Can I curate or upsell opportunities also? I can figure out from, through a certain duration of what access I have with this Account Aggregator. So this also changes a lot of things for me on the field.
So, one of the growth vectors that, like you said, you're not in the business of lending, you're really in the business of risk assessment. The growth vectors for Account Aggregator that we see is also in being able to enhance monitoring, enhance collections. Right? So it's not just about the acquisition side of the story, it's also about making the downstream processes far more sort of efficient. Is that a key focus area?
Definitely, because we were anyways trying to build a lot of models to do early warning signals. So these are only based on our back data. Right. But this gives me access to a lot of information that I can build all these EWS signals right on the front end model, so that right at the beginning I would know which customer, where I can aid him well, at what point can I reach out to the customer to understand what is wrong and how can he, find ways of assessing him, and also upskill opportunity. See, account aggregator for me, I think you know it better, but let me put it into simpler terms, right?
Sure.
So I think it is about one is obviously consent, right? Number two, it is about purpose, right? Number three, it is about security. And number four, it is about anonymization. Am I right? These are the four pillars of account aggregator. For my customer, all these four are very important, right? One, because I told you at the beginning, at the segment that I'm working, frauds are very common. These customers have been exposed to a lot of frauds. So for them to trust someone, it is very important that everything is, coming in a very secure manner. So it is very important that I explain things to him in a way that he understands better, how secure it is. So the security part is very, very important. So then the entire end-to-end encryption, your biometric authentication, everything comes into play. That is very important for the customer to. The more I explain to him that these are end-to-end encrypted, is when he's more sure about sharing a certain set of information. And it is very purpose driven, right? So the customer can decide on what purpose is my data going to be used. So that he's also very clear about it. So that gives him more confidence on sharing that, letting the share that data. So that gives me more access to information, also that free chance of finding ways of working on that data. So these four things, and it is purely consented. Consent to an extent that consent can be given, consent can be withdrawn, consent can be denied, consent can be given basis duration. Everything is up to the customer, right? And customer also has the choice to see logs of what has been used to what quantum. So imagine the power the customer has. I think that changes the way customer also speaks to you, right? Initially, getting a bank statement from a customer was always scary for the customer also. I'm just sharing information right up front. We don't know if copies of these would be made to be shared with other channel partners. So that was always scary for the customer. So with this coming into play, it allays a lot of other fears also. From the employee side also, from the customer side also. That puts to rest a lot of fear that they always had. Where is my printouts going? Where are they going to get used? Are people going to misuse it? So that part is completely put to rest. Yes, but having said that, the challenge is this segment of crowd is also not aware of anything called consent. So explaining the concept of consent to them is going to be a task. Helping them understand to how much consent you can give, what it means. So that information sharing is very important. Beyond that, foremost for me as a company would be passing all this information to my own employees. Now we are a large workforce also, right? So it is not like I send out an email to the entire lot and expect that to fly tomorrow. So for that, it needs a very structured trainings, passing of information, how I communicate, how I train these people, how do I take feedbacks, how do I take responses. And so we have a team actually. We call it the branch transformation team. So this team is based out of every state, and they have other people under them who are based out of different branches. They handle a set of branches. So their entire job is only to drive adoptions. So whatever gets dished out of my R&D team, my IT team, goes to this BT team. So it is up to them to create an entire cascading model of information percolation. So how does the information goes down? There are metricized, metrics to be tracked on how did people adopt to it? How did every person get activated in doing it? And also a reverse feed. Everything is not going to click on day one, right? Obviously, people are going to encounter problems with software or even understanding issues, how they are dealt with. So they have WhatsApp groups formed. There are ticketing systems made. People raise tickets. People get it solved for them. Then information keeps going. The trainings are done. Train models are done. Information has to go down to that level. Then information is also tracked and published to seniors saying this many branches have done this many are yet to do it. Con calls are held. So it's a huge task, Herculean task to get the entire lot to get to train to a certain functionality. And it is very crucial, and we don't take it lightly at all. Because if you don't train your people well, if you don't keep upskilling your people well, something might go wrong on the field. And that's why I keep saying this staff on the ground is very important for me. Because otherwise something wrong, a miscommunication of sorts can create hoac, right? So I don't want to do that. My customer has to be my employee, if is well informed, the customer will be well informed.
Yeah.
And there are no wrongdoings, right? It's very straightforward. It's about getting the right communication out in front. And if both are at peace saying, okay, I have communicated well, and the person says, I have received this communication well, and I'm very happy, I've consented to this information to you, then it becomes a cakewalk for us to, then you can do multiple things. So that is where I see. So yes, of course, an account aggregator never finishes at disbursement. I definitely see value beyond it. Yeah. One, creating that EWS for me to see if something is coming up, which I have to be careful, mindful about. And obviously another upskilling opportunities also, which I can figure out if possible.
No, that's very well put. In fact, for many of us in the ecosystem now, we tend to sort of look at the whole adoption story as now moving from a DIY adoption to really assisted adoption. And when it comes to getting the assisted adoption engine to move, it is all about finding a path to getting your field force motivated and excited about evangelizing it, about educating the consumer. And, obviously, there are perhaps very few organizations like yours which have honed that engine, because in your role as the CDO, like you very nicely put it, your job is to ensure that the field force on the ground understands the value of everything that your R&D and IT is putting out, but then they are the most important cog in the wheel, right? And I know you spoke about a few important, albeit basic things that have to be done, but is there a secret sauce sort of element there in how do you get the field force to adopt something digital at scale? 70,000 people, 3,000 branches, you put out something new, and over a few months you expect the adoption of that to percolate with everybody being as excited as you. That's not easy, right? So is there something?
So there was this movie called Kung Fu Panda. I'll quote a dialogue from it. It says there are no secret sauces. So there are no secrets at all there. So it's a grind. It has to go down that way. So adoption is difficult. There will be resistance. There will be adoption to anything new is going to be resistance across. I mean, you try anything new, it is going to be there. But people are very, very excited about newer things because, see, they are out there in the market. They've already seeing a lot of things happening around them also. Yeah. There are very competitive digital things happening around them. So they're obviously very excited about to take up things. But at that kind of a scale, it's very common for something also to fall through the gaps, right? So you have to be very mindful of how it gets rolled out. So how do you run POCs and how do you take up branches? You have to adopt branches and try make success stories out of them and then roll it out to next batch and then take it up. And senior management has to step in also. They do a lot of heavy lifting for us because they should also understand and equally, understand they have their equal skin in the game, because the things, these are not going to give you an instant upliftment in numbers. It is a seed that you are sowing right now for you to reap after, let's say, a few months or probably a few years down the line also. But they understand that. So the people are also very, forthcoming towards it. But yes, it needs a certain drive. That is why this team, the branch transformation. Otherwise, I'm saying, probably sending out an emailer should have done it, right? It never happens that way. It will obviously fail, or it will just start off somewhere and fail in the middle. So that way, it's very important that, and even post delivering 100% also, we continue to engage, because we cannot take the foot off the pedal at any point in time. While you know that everybody's done it once, then it becomes the game all again. You've just gone back to, it's like a calibrated reset. You can start again. You again find how you can keep enhancing, because nothing stops at just delivering it once, right? Everything keeps going on and on. So it's an ongoing activity. So that way, over a course of time, while I keep saying that our employees are creating or fostering trust with the employees, we are creating that trust with our own employees also. Yeah. So now the employees also look up to that point where we are all bringing in new capabilities. and how it is going to enhance or better their own lives, right? Because the way they operated with the customers also changed a lot. It was imagine the amount of documents that have reduced over the course of the last few years that we've been trying to implement few things. No more are there any printouts of PAN cards or Aadhaar cards anymore. There are no bank statements anymore. Everything will become digital. There are no agreements, 70 signatures here and there anymore. So a lot of things have changed. So they understand they don't have to carry heavy files here and there, get it signed. Where the customer is also very annoyed. Carry the file all the way back to the branch and keying in all the information onto your LOS and then moving on to ops and sitting with him for disbursement. Gone are the days. Now he understands how things are faster, how he can do things in front of the customer. The entire customer experience has also changed. How the customer is also very happy with the way that things have moved so fast, and so he sees that, and he looks very forward towards doing so. Right now, I think we have reached a phase in our own journey that I think we are at a place where everybody's looking forward towards what's coming next.
Everybody's looking forward to what's coming next, and there's no secret sauce, just plain good old execution of something. No, I think in the final stages of this conversation, I'm reminded of something we were speaking earlier. You've been in a bank, you've been in Bajaj earlier, and we spoke about whether something that you did there is repeatable here. And I want you to say it in your own words, but the lesson for me in that conversation is you've got to start from first principles. Every context is unique and different, and particularly for the kind of products and the personas and the market that Shriram is in, you will have to put your head down, adopt Account Aggregator with a very first principles approach and see what problems it solves. You want to say more about that approach?
Yeah, so the discussion was when we started doing our R&D right at the beginning, the first common approach was to do a market benchmarking, right? But over a course of time, we realized that anything that we try and replicate from the market is definitely not going to work with our customer set. Our asset class is absolutely different. Our customer person, as I told you, it could be a pushcart vendor at some place in Northeast, or could be some person in Kerala. It could be an MSME, a small pawn shop, not a pawn shop, a pawn shop owner. Could be anything of that sort. What am I trying to do if you're trying to replicate a large NBFC's 3-click process with them? It's not going to work. So we realized it very early. And then we realized we had to build everything from ground up. So it was a whiteboard approach for everything. So our people on ground came up with what exactly are the problems they face on the field. It could be related to a paper that additionally has to be taken, policy, could be a process, could be a delay in a certain process because of which a disbursement gets delayed, could be an operational ops thing where you have to do 2 things, 3 things to get to a certain point. And how do I communicate things to the customer? All of these. So these were taken as initial feed for our work. And from there, we started building journeys. So we never went ahead thinking, okay, let's do a 5-second disbursal, let's do rocket science, nothing. It was very simple. How do I keep saying it again and again, how do I empower my employee? First approach. How do I ensure that my customers are communicated at the right time with the right product? A very customer-centric approach and an employee-centric approach. That was very simple. Because while we do have employees who say the other financier has a quick process and they can do this, the asset class is very different. Yeah. That customer is probably someone who's earning $1 lakh from an MNC in Bangalore. So he has a credit history. He has a banking. He has a salary credit. He has all his documents in place. And he goes to a company. His email is verified. His mobile number is verified. Everything is done. So it's like, of course, you can do a single click approval for him. My customer is very different. Imagine a pushcart welder. This is a completely different ballgame altogether. His daily credits, daily debits are going to be very different. The daily inventory that he collects from the market is going to be different. Today he's selling something, tomorrow he'll sell something completely different. So I have to assess him absolutely differently. That's where the account aggregator again comes into play. his cash transactions are going to change the way I understand this customer. Right now, my old school method was to assess the inventory and understand his daily economics, right? With this coming into play, it changes the way I understand him. I change the way I bucket him into my risk categories. I lend him better. I serve him better. So it changes the way I function.
Wonderful. Well, this was a great conversation, Vinod. And I think if there's one thing which, for me, summarizes what Vinod's and Shriram's adoption of account aggregator will signify for the rest of us, it is a transition from being just customer-centric to customer-centric and employee-centric. I think that probably is the takeaway mantra. So this brings us to the end, folks, of this episode of Manthan. As always, the attempt is to have genuine conversations with industry leaders and learn as we all put our shoulders to the account aggregator wheel. Thank you. Wonderful having you as always, and we look forward to the next episode of Manthan.